and fill it up with liquid with liquid propellants again.
Hang on, I think we're getting some chatter on the loop. Let's listen in.
Our team is now securing all the commodities.
Oh, it sounds like they are getting everything in order. 3 minutes. Ryan, are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I finally feel confident that if I can talk about the time, I will not be responsible if anything happens. And I will leave it at that.
Yeah, good call.
The flight termination system for New.
Hey, Deb, can I borrow a couple minutes of your show time, like 2 or 3? The rocket got a late start, and it's their first maiden voyage. It hopefully it'll not blow up, but it might.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. They postponed this for like 2 days. Even tonight, they postponed it.
Topping off the rocket for flight pressure.
Excellent. 2 minutes.
Here we go.
We are now pressurizing the tanks to their flight pressures. Of course, this is crucial for the performance of our engines. Getting ready for launch.
Oh boy.
T-minus 2 minutes.
Incredibly close. We are incredibly close to the maiden launch of this behemoth of a rocket.
We're now going to be switching off the ground power supply and transitioning New Glenn to its internal vehicle batteries. When this happens, the vehicle is now powering itself. Let's do this, New Glenn.
Transition to internal power.
My heart goes out to every single person that has worked and put blood, sweat, and tears, taking time away from their family,
T-minus 130.
and absolutely made the future happen before our eyes.
Power internal.
Power internal. The rocket is on internal power for the first time.
There it is. New Glenn is alive.
Let's go.
The countdown is still progressing.
Minutes ago. Let's do this. I can't even.
At T-minus 20 seconds, watch for the bottom of the rocket. You will see the mighty deluge system of LC-36 pull up.
Range green.
45.
AFSS flight enabled.
Flight enabled from the autopilot.
We're about to witness a moment in spaceflight history here, everybody.
Look at the bottom.
30 seconds.
I'm looking, Adrian.
There will be deluge.
Alarms.
This could really be it.
20 seconds. Should be seeing deluge soon.
This could really be it.
There's that mighty rocket. Everything going good. They're progressing. There's the deluge.
Oh my God. 5, 4.
Ignite
3.
these.
Ignition. Oh my God. And liftoff. Maybe? There it goes.
There it goes.
Liftoff of New Glenn 1. Congratulations to Blue Origin. Look at it go.
Look at that blue.
That thrust to weight ratio is so low. It's crawling off the pad.
Pitching downrange.
Let's listen in as the sound hits our cameras.
Pressures continue to look nominal. 1 minute into flight.
Wow!
All 7 engines continue to look good on the first stage. State of quality.
Absolutely insane.
Wow!
Everything progressing
1 minute,
nominal.
15 seconds into flight.
As we build a road.
Blue! It's so blue!
For the benefit of Earth.
7 healthy BE4s.
All at full thrust.
Look at that blue.
I cannot get over how slow that liftoff was off the pad. That was so slow. Vehicle supersonic.
Vehicle is now passing through max Q.
Now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Look at that! Is that the WB-57?
I think it is.
That might be a ground-based tracking can. I'm not sure.
But it's cool.
It's cool either way. Well, it's hot, but it's cool.
Well, we got to see it take off. They're using a different fuel that makes it blue. I can't remember what it was. They said what it was yesterday or the day before. Anyway, Deb needs to do her show. I'll give you guys a link so you can go watch that if you're interested in watching that. Because it's supposed to land on a launching pad just like Elon's does. So anyway, thank you for letting me share that, Deb. I appreciate that.
Sure. How are you?
Oh, good. Kind of a space nerd, I guess. I like to watch all these. I don't know why. It fascinates me what they're doing. You know, and I know with all the satellites going up, I mean, that's, and I believe, my opinion, I might be wrong, but I do believe that's part of the beast system. It's interesting to watch. So,
Yeah.
Did you have a good week?
Oh, man. Oh, so, how are things with you?
We're good. Busy. We're very busy. Yeah.
Did you watch any of the hearings?
I watched a little bit on a replay, but our Bible study's in the morning when they have the hearings, so we miss it. As soon as we're done, we try to play something. We usually only got about 20 minutes left by the time I get down to Bible study in the morning. So we watched part of the replay today. I want to see Pam Bondi.
I mean, these Democrats are insane.
Oh, I did see there was a compilation of the four women, Hirano and Pocahontas. Can't remember the other two, but oh my gosh.
Gillibrand was one of them. I mean, oh my gosh.
Blabbering pit bulls. It was so embarrassing.
Well, here's the thing, you know, of course, I'm the older generation, but I don't think women should be in combat. If there are, then they need to meet the same standards that the men. They shouldn't lower the standards just to, if a man needs to run 5 miles in a minute, then she should be too. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel. But what really got me about Hirono was, will you resign if you're caught drinking on the job? I'm like, lady, you're slurring your words. Are you going to resign for drinking on the job? You're supposed to be committing, your job is to, on this hearing panel,
Yeah, and then you look at Nancy Pelosi, who's sloshed, and Kamala Harris. Half the time you can't even understand what she's saying. She's so sloshed.
I was like, oh my God. I mean, these, it's just an yes or no question.
I know. You know what? They came across really bad, and it was not a good look for them because they lost the election with Trump, and their viciousness and their nastiness and their sore loser.
The problem is you still got too many people, too many fools who think, oh, well, he couldn't answer a simple question. It was one of those gotcha. What it is, he wasn't answering a gotcha question. Neither did Pam Bondi either. Yeah. She wasn't going to answer a gotcha question. And Hirono with this idea, when has President Trump ever said he was going to invade another country?
They just lie. They just put words in his mouth and lie, and they make it out like, oh, well, he said that, and so everybody thinks he said it because a lying senator said it, so they assume they're telling the truth.
I mean, oh my gosh, he said he would negotiate. He's always said he would negotiate with Greenland or Denmark or wherever. Yep. And and I had kind of an epiphany earlier today. And this is one of the things I keep saying. Why is it that when President Trump called Zelensky or had that phone call with Zelensky, it was impeach. Yeah. But yet we are sending how many billions and billions of dollars? It's probably up in the trillions by now.
Yeah.
excuse me, nobody questions that. But you know what? We all know that Ukraine-Russia thing is all just, it's a one big dog and pony show anyway. It was just that whole mess. It was to expose the money laundering. It was also to expose the biolabs. It was also to exposing, it was just it's a cover for Putin to go in and take down the biolabs, take down the child trafficking. That's all that is, and exposing the money laundering. That's all that whole thing is.
Hopefully it comes out to where the general public understands that, and I think it will, because I remember the very first thing that started with Ukraine was Putin went in and started bombing, and it turned out, wait, he's bombing bioweapon labs. Oh, okay, now I understand. They said, no, he's bombing United States-owned bioweapon labs. And I'm like, oh, that's why they all ran over there. Pelosi and a bunch of them ran over there. Just a bunch of scummy, skeevy worms, man. Terrible. And then Newsom, man, there's a lot of people mad at him. A lot of people, even his Democrat buddies are saying, you need to resign. You need to get out of there.
You know what? That every time I see a picture of him and his hair slicked back, he reminds me. Did you ever see the Star Trek episode where they did? It was I don't know. Was it Menagerie? And it was kind of let's see how. It's an episode, but what it did is it introduced the pilot episode, with what's his face, that Jeffrey Hunter that played Commander Pike.
Yeah.
And but in this particular episode, it was with Shatner as Kirk, and they had Commander Pike with that slick back hair, because he was in that. That's what Newsom reminds me of.
He reminds me of a cheap mafia thug. With his hair slicked back.
That too.
He's greasy. The guy's greasy. It's gross.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It's just. It's just crazy. But I went to Malibu Sunday, and. Yeah, I did. I wanted to see. I didn't get very far. I wanted to see because although they say the road is closed, there's no signs to indicate it's closed.
Really?
And the first part that's closer to where I'm at, it's open. People go out there. People are can park. I'm telling you guys right now, do not believe every single video or every single picture you see. And the reason why I said this, I saw a picture and I'm thinking, and it had this car burned out and it was all debris, and I'm thinking, I was in that area. At least it looked like I was in that area. I said, it looks nothing like this. It's all cleaned up, and they either cleaned it up really, really quick, so don't. And I keep looking at those videos, some of the videos, people sitting there saying with their, and don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying there's not a fire. I'm not saying people's houses are not getting burned down. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying some of these videos you're seeing after going to Universal Studios, and if anybody saw that movie War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, they still have that set where the plane hit that neighborhood with the houses and everything. They have that set still, and so once you see how they make those films, I was looking at one video and I'm thinking, that could very well easily be faked. Once you see the quote movie magic and how they do it, and one way you could probably tell if it's a fake video or whatever, look how steady the operator is. I've got a video of, I took a picture of, I found the, I'm kind of jumping around. to kind of prove my point, I found the staging area of the fire trucks going into Malibu, or in Malibu. So, and as I was going into Malibu, I saw fire trucks coming the opposite direction. So they were leaving the area. Now, were they going to another fire? I don't know. Were they going back home? I don't know. But they were coming in clusters of I would see 6 fire trucks going the opposite direction. And you got to keep in mind, I was by myself, so I couldn't read where they were coming from. But there were a lot of fire engines leaving. I think I saw about, if I had to guess, I saw about 30 to 35 fire trucks going the opposite direction. And I saw about 10, those little, the little SUV rescue units, like the K9 units and stuff, where they had the camper on the back of a truck. I saw about 10 of those leaving the area. So they could have been battalions or units leaving the area, and they could have been going somewhere else. And there was another fire that they had, I think they said there was 500 acres that burn in Oxnard. So, but
there's a fire Purple Mountain Road in San Bernardino. I think they got that taken care of.
Well, there are a lot of them. So here's this. Here's my video. I don't have sound on this, so there's no sound. This is the reason why I say, look, because I'm by myself. I'm trying to keep it inconspicuous. I didn't go very far into it because I didn't want there to be questions. I didn't want to get stopped. Why are you here? I was trying to be inconspicuous. I didn't want them to. And I'm by myself, so I'm using my my phone. So, I said there's no audio. But but I don't know. Do y'all see the trucks?
Yeah.
But this right here, that's a reflector. So when you can see at night, that's what that is. And it's only 50 seconds. I did it in 2 pieces. I had to find a place where I could turn around and kind of get my camera set.
Did you use a dash cam or did you hold it up?
I held it up. That's the reason why it's kind of shaky.
Hard. That's really hard.
But
I finally got a little cup holder that you just pop the phone in, and it's just on the window, and it holds it pretty steady.
Yeah, I don't know what building that is, but see, look, there's the tents. Here's some looks like RVs.
That's in Malibu.
And you gotta keep in mind, Malibu takes 15 minutes just to drive through. 15 to 20 minutes just to drive through on the coast,
Yeah, and it's low speed, and it's got, you go through the town, and it's been a long time since I've been there.
Well, it's 55 miles an hour.
Oh, really? It used to be 35, and it was all strung out. And maybe you go up around that one corner, and there's a little bit of town there with a pharmacy and stuff up there.
Yeah, it's about. Let's see. It takes about an hour to get to Santa Monica. Santa Monica is only 30 miles away, but it takes about an hour because you got to go through Malibu. But I think this is the north side of Malibu. But look, let's see. Yeah, see over here, there's and I dropped it. I dropped my camera at one point. Come on. Oh, come on. Why you're not? Oh, come on! Don't tell me you're not gonna move. I don't want to do that. Hold on a second.
I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that has technical difficulties.
Well, I thought I spent about 30 minutes trying to get my audio fixed last week, and I got it tolerable. And then Sunday it wasn't working again.
Well, at least you got it working, so you know you can do it. That's a good.
I'll try this again. Okay, let's see if it will. Come on. It's not working. Now it's not working. Well, right before I came on, my system did it decided to do a update, right, on my computer. So of course so now that's slowing everything down. But let me see. I could probably be better just to do it this way anyway. So, see, there's a couple of units. Let's see the tents, the porta potties. See, and if you can see, some of these are older fire trucks too.
Yeah, they are.
Now there were about like 10 of these units right here, these type of units. Now like I said, I don't know if these are California units or if they're out of state units. See,
or they came from all over the place. It's hard to say.
I don't know if there's the water, there's the Pacific Ocean back there, but past a car. Yeah. And see, but I mean, there are a lot of, as you can tell, there's a lot of help came. There's a lot of people.
That's good.
Okay, and this is the opposite side, so. But. Just more units. Keep in mind I'm doing 55 miles an hour, so that's it.
Well, I'm glad you went up to see what was there.
Well, like I said, I didn't want to. If they were doing any kind of operation, I didn't want to interfere, so I left. I didn't stay very long.
Yeah.
Because it went from 2-lane to it closed off a lane, and when I saw like I said, it looks like a staging area. When I found the fire trucks, I just said, you know what, I better go ahead and turn around. I'm gonna try to go back. I mean, we had high winds the last 2 days. They finally came down a little bit. I'm gonna try to go back another. I don't know if I'm going to go back this weekend or wait another week or two. Last I checked, when I checked about an hour or so ago, the Palisades fire was only like 28% contained. Eaton is about
very much.
Eaton is like I think at 45%. So Eaton's. And Michael J., who's in Glendale, that one is completely contained.
Good.
So some of these hot spots are contained. But what I want to do...
If they can get the winds to stay down, they'll be able to contain it pretty quickly.
Well, they were down and all of a sudden they just go up. And so it's like, and everybody courses everybody. Well, here's what I'm seeing on the local media is that... people that are even in the evacuation areas, they've been in without power for 3 or 4 days. Some of them are without power for a whole week.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I mean, they're not even in the evacuation area. one person was saying they finally got their power back on and then they took it down because the winds picked up. No fire, mind you, but the winds picked up. So
they're afraid the state tried to blame fires on the power companies for the lines going down, so they're ultra careful with it. You don't want to get sued.
Yeah. So I'm like I said, what I want to do is I want to try to take a trip down Mulholland and see how bad.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good drive to get on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looked open. It looked open from the highway. It looked like it was open. So, I'd like to see if it's closed off at any point.
Huh.
But
it was for a while.
Well, it's of course people are like, of course the media is sitting there saying, don't go over there because it's closed, but I'm like, I'm over here. There's no sign to indicate. I can't
believe the media. Yeah.
Oh, I know. But I'm like, there's no sign to indicate that it's closed. And I see cars going down there, and not just fire trucks, The cars are going, there are a few cars that are going by there. I mean, it was closed for one day, but last week it was closed. There was one day it was closed, but the other, it was like closed for like 24 hours.
Apparently on Malibu, there was a telephone pole on fire tonight, too. It got turned, it's really funny. It wasn't funny, it was kind of creepy. The first report came out that there were a bunch of people on fire. It's like, what? And it turned out, no, it was a telephone pole on fire. But I mean, you have to wonder how the telephone pole caught on fire, too.
Well, here's something else. Now, the air quality is kind of heavy. Especially the wind has kicked up the dust because because they're still like doing the agriculture. People are still planting crops and everything. So the dust. I mean, if you've ever got like a face full of dust or dirt, that's how it feels right now. Sometimes when I go out, it's not all the time. But it just feels like you get that loamy, that wet soil, that tilled soil smell, and it's just like oh, I'm breathing in dust. But when I went there, as far as I went, I did not smell any smoke. That's the thing. I didn't smell any smoke. That's like when I went to, we were going to because this is the second Malibu fire, if you want to call it Malibu. But in December, when the fire hit Malibu in December, and over there by Pepperdine, I'm like, a week later, we're going to LA to catch the, so I can catch a plane, and I'm like, I don't smell any smoke. And then once we hit Pepperdine, got closer to Pepperdine, the university, I was like, oh, there, I can smell the smoke now. So I just may not have gone down far enough.
Well, also when it's put out, like Jack was talking about it tonight, I fought fires, and when you're on mop-up, you're there until there is no heat left coming out of the ground or anything that's been burned. And you'll smell an acidic, acrid, kind of a burnt dirt smell. It doesn't really smell burnt. It has not. You'll know it when you smell it, like almost like mushrooms, like old mushrooms. But you won't smell smoke. You'll smell that. Sometimes like wet pavement or whatever you're spraying the water on. Yeah, so that's probably why you didn't smell smoke down there. Because once the wind, the wind's blowing that smoke away from town. And I looked at live pictures of LA tonight, and you can, or not tonight, it's just before sunset, and you can see a tiny little bit of light smoke in the air over the actual city proper, but all around it looked like it was pretty clean. There's not a lot of smoke in the air because of the wind.
I've been in a fire before. I mean, I had my apartment caught fire
Yeah,
before.
that was scary. What are you talking about that?
Yeah, especially when you have a 10-week-old baby with you.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, talk about, I was in shock. I was just kind of, I was the last one out. I mean, there's nothing more scary than open up the door and there's a fireman right in front of you, and I don't know who was more surprised, me or him.
Yeah, it's weird they didn't know you were in there.
He goes, it was like, yeah. And, I worked for the fire marshal's office, and like 2 days before we had this big old training, what to do if you're in a fire. It's like, I did everything wrong, I did everything opposite of what we did.
Not to do.
Well, they said, like, get out of the way of the firemen. It's like, wait a minute. If I have a choice between headed towards the dark or headed towards the light, I'm going to head towards the light.
Yeah.
Of course, that's where the firemen are coming up the stairs to fight the fire. And so, yeah, I didn't even know there was anything on fire. I knew there was a fire. I just didn't know how close it was.
Huh.
I mean, I didn't know it was our unit. It was my building, but the unit that caught fire was like because you got you got my unit, then the breezeway, then another unit, and then you have the firewall, and it was the unit next to the firewall.
On the other how many people during this fire did experience the same thing and didn't even know the fire was there till it was right on them?
I don't know, but once I got out of there and I realized how close it was, I just started walking. I was looking for the nearest, I'm almost 30 years old, and I'm looking for a nearest telephone to try to find to call my parents. I didn't have a cell phone at that time.
Yeah.
So, and of course the police officers were there to block the road, and he's like, were you in the fire? I said, yeah. And so I just walked. And
did it burn up your unit too?
No, actually, I was one of the lucky ones. The guy that where the unit started, he passed. He got caught by the smoke, and that's what people don't realize is that the smoke gets you before the fire does.
I hope that's what happened to people caught in those fires. There was one guy that did a video. I don't even know if he got out alive. He might have been live streaming, and if he was, it didn't look like he made it. He had a dog with him. His whole house, like what you could see, was all wall-to-wall, ceiling-to-floor glass, like a big glass cube. And the fire was coming up over the side, and it was just blowing up against the glass and came up the front. And they were like 10, 12-foot flames just slamming his house. And he's sitting there filming it, and his dog comes walking up like, what are you doing? Come on, we got to get out of here. So I don't know if he got out or not, but that was just, I fought fire, and to see something like that close to you, holy Toledo.
I'm surprised that the smoke wasn't getting to him then.
Yeah, you didn't see smoke. It was because that was the day the wind was blowing really hard, so a lot of that smoke, the fires were burning so hot, the smoke was being sucked up. Because it's looking for oxygen, and that draws cold air to the fire, and it just shoots it straight up because the heat rises, and I think that's where a lot of that smoke went. But then once the wind catches it, it shoots it off. Because a lot of the fires were burning at an angle because the wind was blowing so hard. But yeah, these things just smashing the side of his house. I couldn't believe the glass didn't break when he was taking a picture either.
I know the one I was in, you didn't smell it at first, but I felt it like the next day. You didn't realize you were breathing in the smoke until the next day, and your lungs were hurting.
Yeah, Jack said that the church, they're going to help people with supplies. They needed grooming things like toothbrush, toothpaste kits, and he said nasal saline, not medicated. He said, so I'm thinking a lot of these people
that neti pot to
he said they need saline
clear
water
out the passages.
All that gunk in their fire.
Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, a lot of people, like they're saying, they're trying to do a land grab on it right now. It's just disgusting.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's the same playbook over and over again.
Just like Lahaina, same thing. Matter of fact, Gavin Newsom talked about, I got off the phone with the governor of Hawaii. It's like, yeah, 'cause they're slapping hands and high-fiving each other.
Well, did you see that one guy that actually admitted that they set the fires on, set it on purpose? Did you see? Let me see if I can find it.
No, but I did see some kids at the top of Paradise. I got video of that. I saved it. They're up there, and they were just trotting down the hill. They're videotaping. There were like 4 of them, and running down from the fire. They're probably, when they first showed the video, they're probably 20 feet, 30 feet away from it. The smoke, and then the Mountain Peak camera caught several guys in the middle of the path where that little fire was, trying to get it going. You can see a little bit of smoke come up, and then it goes away, then more smoke, and then finally they get it going. They were on their knees. One of them was on his knees in the middle of the hiking path, starting the fire. And it's weird because it never happened, and it was all over X 2 days ago, and it's like gone. They never mention it, and it's like, oh boy, somebody's got some money, and the kids were laughing about it. It's like, oh my gosh.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Let me see.
That was supposed to be the first fire.
Okay. It's Director of LA. Let's see. Hold on a second. County Director of LA, Mark Pestarella, admits they started the fire.
Oh, I might have saw that, where he says, yes, I think I did see that. He just it's like a clip of him talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that, I think, on my show Monday night. Yeah, play it if you want, man. It's just like, whoa. You see that, and it's like, well, now, well, they're still lighting fires. There's people running all over the place lighting fires. They're trying to get things going. It's like, who does that?
Well, they've already talked about smart cities. We're going to, I've already,
How providential.
Let's see. Well, I gotta get my Telegram up and see if it'll come up. I may have too many windows open. And like I said, I don't know about audio, although
Telegram's a resource hog too.
See if I can get if I can get my Telegram going. Like I said, everything right now, my everything's just working super duper slow.
I'm glad you got your sound to work for a bit. So it's probably something, just a setting or something messing with that.
I thought I had my settings. I thought I had my settings, but you know what? But then again, there was that whole new update. And
yeah, the updates are what screw you up big time.
And then,
I don't know why they do them. Like Firefox, every other day they're doing an update. It's like, are you kidding me? I'll just let it go until the program or the browser won't work anymore. Then I'll update it. They just screw everything up when they do it. But thanks for going up there and videotaping. I'm glad you did that. Good to have an eyewitness boots on the ground.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna try to keep going. I try to. I asked my daughter. I said, "Do you want to go up there and see?" And she's like, "No." She didn't
really?
Wanna, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's a historic thing to see.
Well, she didn't want to go unless. Well, right now, and both of us right now is kind of like I gotta say gas because gas prices are going back up. They're over $4.
I thought Gavin said you weren't supposed to gouge after the fire. Well, they're free.
I mean, it's a typical. It's typical. You know, it's after the first of the year, and it's just one of those typical. It still didn't get down to. The base got down to 401 over Christmas, and so it's. I mean. Locally,
it's 365 here.
Locally before Christmas it was like at 425, And
That's crazy.
the one place that I kind of gauge how the because I don't drive by the gas station every time on base, but one of the ways I gauge to see if it's up or down is there's this one gas station, and it went up like 10 cents in 2 days.
Wow.
And it went, well, it jumped from, what was it? It jumped from 430, was it 435 to 439? Now it's 449.
Crazy.
So. Anyway, Telegram's not opening up. Well, no. Oops, wait a minute. No, so it's open, or it's it's getting there.
It's trying.
No, I just gotta wait for it to. Okay, I just gotta wait for it. I just gotta wait for it to load.
Yeah, I got thinking about I was wondering how much of because a lot of celebrities lost their houses, and it made me wonder how many of them lost all the evidence of their time with P. Diddy and all that stuff. How much evidence was burned up?
That's one of the things I've been talking about from the very beginning. I wonder how many, they're doing their little. Let's see.
Yeah, saved their bacon.
The tunnels, between the tunnels and that. Okay, I got it.
You sound like you're struggling.
Huh?
Oh, it just sounds like you're struggling because it's giving you the business.
Yeah, okay, everybody, if it gets to be... Okay, oops, I better not do that, or else we'll have echoes. But who knows, maybe this is finally fixed, because I'm not having a hard time with my bandwidth right now.
Good.
At least I say that, and then I'll get that nasty little notification. Okay, come on. Are you gonna let me share? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't have to share.
No, I'm talking to the computer.
Oh, you do that too.
Okay. So can y'all see that? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right.
First, before we embark upon what is going to be a journey to rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire.
Did you see that about rebuild them better, build back better?
That's the plan all along. Came out pretty quick too. Yeah, it's disgusting with these. And you know what? Every one of these people that was involved in this, like keeping the cisterns empty, they've been empty. The big one above the city was empty since February of last year. The empty fire hydrants, the no water anywhere. That was all planned up. And then they didn't have other things. I can't remember but all these things together, that wasn't a mistake. That wasn't by accident. And then they took money from the fire fund and gave it somewhere else, which is illegal. They're not supposed. You have that fund, and it stays in that fund. It doesn't. You can't take water money from the utilities and put it into general funds. You can't do that. It's illegal. But they did it, and one of those people.
Explain to me.
If it burned, people would die. That was premeditated murder. They didn't care about people dying. That was to achieve their goal. They didn't care. They all need to be prosecuted for murder.
Well, explain to me why a mayor of a town used taxpayer money to go to a foreign country.
Yeah, she's done it more than once. She went to Cuba, 14 times? She's a communist. She's a card-carrying communist. I actually saw something tonight of her from, was it 30 years or 40 years ago? It's kind of a communist rally or something. It's coming out about her. She's really bad. Well, nasty bad. So.
If I remember correctly, I heard something now. I saw something, and I know there were people who were betting it, that she was actually in some sort of battalion, or she was a trainer or something.
I think that's part of what I saw.
So, if that is true, I mean...
It was on X. She went to Cuba and went to some kind of communist meetings. Yeah, she's filthy. And so who does she hire? She hires other filthy people like her. They get embedded and you can't get them out. So and I think people are wanting her to leave, though. They're PO'd.
So, chat, were you able to hear that okay without all the scratchy stuff?
It sounded good to me, but I'm in Zoom, but I heard it. It sounded a little like an echo, a tiny bit of an echo to it, but I could hear it. It was clear.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. On Zoom, it looks clear. It's through D-Live that the problem is. It's like it's not connecting with D-Live. So, give me a one. Okay, so Walking On said it was 5. Maybe I can actually start. I wonder if my yay.
She did it.
I don't know what I did or what happened. Well, they had like I said, they had another update the other day and last week, so I did the update on Zoom. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not having any so far. I'm not having any bandwidth issues. So
yeah, that's usually Zoom though. It pops it up. I'm on Starlink, and it'll once in a while tell me I've got bandwidth issues. It's like, get out of here.
Well, that is one thing that I saw. Somebody was talking about how they had Starlink and they didn't lose any kind of power or anything.
Yeah. Oh, I heard, what was it that they... Oh, I just heard it tonight. Somebody found out, Gavin, was it? Found out that they had Starlink with the firefighters or something and made them send them back.
I saw that.
Wow. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? This was done on purpose.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Everything they're doing is just sticking their foot in it, and they seem to think they're just going to waltz along like they did before. He thinks he's going to get away with another recall, but you know what? Trump is fixing the vote fraud. I've got no. He has to, because we'll have communism with the next election if he doesn't fix the vote fraud, and he can fix that in federal elections. Well, this last election was a federal election, so he can go back and take care of things. So now, once things are fixed, I don't think Gavin's going to get to stay in there like he thinks. That they're all guilty of treason, and the type of treason they're guilty of is a hanging offense.
Well, you can definitely tell that the Democrats are all worried about that because, I mean, it always, Pam Bondi. Are you going to tell President Trump no? He's never conceded to the 2020 election. Oh, even Reid did with the Pete Hegseth. Trump, will you follow? I mean, oh my gosh, Hirono and that. If President Trump tells you to shoot somebody in the leg, are you going to do it?
He didn't ever concede because he never lost. Exactly. I wouldn't have conceded either.
Well, the thing is, I don't think he, unless he was just trolling the media, I don't think he's ever said that to shoot somebody in the leg. No. What about Maxine Waters sitting there saying, when we go high, or they go high, we'll go low?
Yeah, and then saying that he told people to drink bleach. It's like, shut up.
Oh my gosh.
They just make stuff up and then they run with it and keep repeating it so people think he really said it. It's like, well, go find the sound clip. I'd like to see that because I never saw him say that.
Yeah, well, that's like that Reid telling Pete Hegseth, oh, we got your own mother says that you're out of control.
Oh, gee, yeah, right. Mama said what?
Yeah, and he's like anonymous. I mean, Pete Hegseth said, I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but he goes, you're talking about anonymous sources. And he goes, oh, we have the names. Well, then release the names.
Yeah. If you can't produce the names, it didn't happen.
Then he goes, well, your mother said.
Yo, mama.
They said they had to drag you out of a party. I mean, okay. Not that I would, no, I mean, ideally it would be nice if we had politicians in office who are so upstanding that they don't even have a parking ticket.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. We're flawed people.
Yeah.
We're flawed people. We make mistakes, and
I got to tell you, I do have concerns with Hegseth's loyalty, because if he's not loyal to his wife, he's not going to, you just have to watch him. And for the job, he might be the best person for the job. And Trump has people that can watch him. If he screws up, they're going to find out about it, and they'll just get rid of him and get somebody else.
Well, that's the thing is, I think right now a lot of people that President Trump has put in place, and like I said, there's some people that I think are just a temporary. They're a placeholder for something for the change.
I think they're going to be getting rid of a lot of these agencies. I wish they'd get rid of every single one of them, but I think a lot of them are just temporary placeholders until that agency can be defunded. Somebody said you don't have to shut them down, just defund them, then they'll close down on their own. Then you have to make it so they can never open again, because the whole point of having them is to cause what we've got now. They were not constitutional constructs. They cannot exist because we will always get corrupt. They're designed to be corruptible. Yeah. The CIA, the FBI, all designed to be corruptible, all of them. Look at the Pentagon. They get trillions of dollars. Oops, we lost it. We don't know what happened to it. It's like, get out of here. Go away. You need to be gone.
That's like Truman said he was sorry he created the clowns.
Yep. Patients never existed, and they need to be, all of them need to be erased. The FDA, the FBI, CIA, all of them, they need to be gone. And there goes
NSA, Homeland, DEA, all those.
All of them. I remember I tried to get a cream that I devised for arthritis. I invented an arthritis cream years ago, 25 years ago. And I was going to get it patented. And the FDA says it'll take about 10 years and $10 million for me to get that patented.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so it's all about money. It has nothing to do with health. That just, the light bulb came on. I knew right away. That's what they're fake. They're a fake place, and it's all about the bucks. And I look at the CIA, how corrupt they are. All of them, they're all corrupt. They need to go. The people there, and we need to get rid of the lobbyists. Since when do people who pay the politician the most money get what they want? That's not even a representative. Right. It's stupid. They need to get rid of all the. Remember Obama? All get rid of lobbyists. They increased under him. He lied about everything.
The lobbyists. The lobbyists. That's the reason why state of Texas they've got such a big. The lobbying for the fireworks industry is so big because that's $1 billion. I mean, just for basically 20 days a year, that's $1 billion industry, and that's a very big industry. But
it's favoritism. You're giving somebody is paid to play. It's literally pay to play, and it's illegal. But here we have them. They need to go. All of them need to go, and they need to make it permanently illegal.
But speaking of Texas, did you see that Abbott has declared that Texas is going to raise the flags for the inauguration? And then
I heard something else. Say again.
He's going to raise the flags. Texas buildings or the state buildings can raise the flags for the inauguration, and then of course, what's his face, Mike Johnson is going to do it for the Capitol, and people are having a fit because of that. It's like, okay, first of all, it's Capitol building, raising the flag. Okay, it's not all federal buildings like Biden says, So, and it's, I mean, come on, it's not going to hurt.
Jimmy Carter was a communist. He was a dirtbag communist, and they're acting like he was God's gift. All you have to do is go find out some of his policies. He gave way to Panama Canal. He did all kinds. He did so much damage to this country.
And yet, well, the thing is they think he's such a good humanitarian because of Habitat and Humanity. Let me ask you something. Do you know that Habitat and Humanity went to third world countries? And what were those areas that they went to? What were they known for? Or what are we finding out? Like Africa?
That's right.
Greatest hub for child trafficking.
That's right. Connect the dots. Old Jimmy was right in a. Yeah, he was so nasty. He was a horrible president.
Well, he's supposed to be this good old Southern boy, but he and Clinton came up with a new church. They created their own church, and it was to be inclusive. Talk about DEI. Is for everybody. Everybody needs church. Don't get me wrong. Everybody needs church, I think. Well, and I don't necessarily mean organized religion, but they need to go someplace where they can learn about God and how to worship. Church should be open to anybody who wants to come in and learn, or the ecclesia, the gathering. Yeah. But I mean, the fact that guess who else was with them? They had some sort of convention. I wrote an article about that, and that was one of the things I came across. And not Grassley, but Lindsey Graham went to this convention that they had too. That doesn't surprise anybody? Not.
Nasty old thing.
So.
Yeah, it's just hopefully we can get rid of these bums.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm like, I know they're speculating, and I've speculated. I'm wondering if we're going to have, people are worried about, what about Carrie Underwood and Billy Ray Cyrus singing at the inauguration?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised Billy Ray.
I'm surprised about Carrie Underwood. She was
her too.
I'm kind of wondering if she did not see the light after all those falls, after she criticized President Trump, all those times every time she criticized President Trump, something bad happened to her.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know about that, but there was a Muslim guy that was supposed to talk, and people read them the riot act, and it came out today. Oh, no, he's not going to be talking. They pulled him off the list. So, yeah. I don't know who's planning all this, but, whoever did the planning on the events, but you'd think they'd know better.
Did you see the official portrait, inauguration portrait that's been,
No.
Yeah, there's an official portrait that's for the inauguration. At least that's what they say it is. Let me see if I can find it again.
Hang those in the gallery, the National Gallery?
I don't know.
It'll probably end up in his.
A lot of these. I wish a lot of these places would. Golly, when they do this, when they're doing articles about President Trump, they would get better pictures. He always looks like I don't know. He doesn't. It doesn't look like his best. Let's put it.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
It's like you gotta. Are you telling me you can't find a better picture than what you come across?
I've seen. Yeah, there's some pictures of Trump that I don't know if it's a bad angle. I don't know, or an expression on his face, but every once in a while it's kind of the same thing. The picture looks the same when he does it, so I don't know. It might be a bad angle, but it's just not a good look for some reason. Otherwise, he's photogenic, but there's just one little thing where he doesn't look right.
Okay, here it is. Here it is. Here. Now there is a colorized version. I may have to see if I can find it. Here you go. See, I mean, there is a colorized version. I don't know if you can.
Oh, that looks like his mugshot. I did see that. He's got one eye bigger than the other. I don't know what that's all about. That's weird.
I mean, I like the blue, but it's like
that looks like his mugshot.
I don't know. It just
same look where he's looking up. He's kind of got his chin down. And he's looking up, and that's he looks mad.
Yeah, that's my thing, and I know I've seen him.
The official one?
That's what they're saying. That's what Benny Johnson is tweeting out or whatever.
Trump portrait.
I think that's a very poor picture.
Yeah, I do too. And I like the colors, but the look on his face and the angle is just weird. And the light's coming at him in a weird angle too.
Yeah. I think they could have done better. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
So, anyway.
Well, I should let you go. I've taken up an hour of your time.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. Historic events have happened the last week since the last time I talked to you. So,
yeah, a lot of things.
The next time I talk to you, we'll have a new president.
Inauguration, maybe. I mean, there's some speculation about whether or not because, we're not out of the woods yet.
Well, he can be sworn in anywhere. He doesn't have to be sworn in a particular place. It just has to be done legally.
Well, I'm wondering what the rally, because people are speculating about the rally. And,
yeah, that's weird, doing that the day before.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I mean, it's like I've always said, I mean, I know, like, Pam Bondi was like, she's like, because they kept wanting her to say that President Trump lost the 2020 election, and she's like, I accept the fact that Joe Biden is president, but from what I observed in Pennsylvania, so she would not come out and say that.
In a way that they could, if they knew if they said anything, she knew too much and they better shut up. Because she could pull out some things that would blow them out of the water, I think. So she kind of warned them by saying that.
Well, the thing is I mean, the fact that he never conceded the 2020 election. He kept denying the results. I mean, they're panicking if they keep bringing that up.
Yeah. Because they know, they keep saying that. What they're doing is trying to plant doubt in people's minds about what they're going to do is say, oh, well, he's lying about that because they were saying he was lying about it on congressional testimony. They're trying to make it so that the public thinks that he's lying about losing or about winning the election.
Did you see that on Stacey Abrams? She's they fined her $300 million or something for misappropriation of funds.
Wow, good.
I could be wrong on the number on the amount, but
wow, good. We're going after her. She needs it.
I think. Wait a minute. I think I have it. I think I had a judicial watch. Hold on a second. I have it in my. If I get to it tonight, if not, maybe.
Well, think about it. There's somebody's already working because they got sworn in on the 3rd, so somebody's already doing their job. If she's getting fined, somebody is.
Well, Judicial Watch reported that. Yeah, court. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, this is Fannie Willis. Oh, yeah, but court awards Judicial Watch $21,580 or $78 in fees and costs in open records lawsuit against Fannie Willis. But that's Fannie Willis. That's not what's her face. But
she needs to be in jail.
But there was something about the Stacey Abrams campaign has So, yeah, I mean, she's been denying her election. How about, I mean, that's like Mullins, I think it was Mullin that brought out, election deniers. You had Hillary Clinton, all those people. Why is it because that they denied the election? Or, I mean, how many times did they call President Trump an illegitimate president from the very beginning in 2016? Yep.
Oh, there's lots of video of them. Yeah.
I mean, they kept saying it, and yet there was a peaceful transaction of power. No one talks about his inauguration. No one talks about the protests that were going on in his inauguration. And you talk about, oh gosh, did you see? Yeah, I know. I'm like, I need to get to my to 2 Samuel, or 1 Samuel. But did you the protest and the Chris Wright? The idiot people that were protesting. Did you see their chant? Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah, they're. Well, the thing is, they know that they are. Remember, Trump said it in his first term. Somebody asked him about it. He said there are a lot of people that need to be in prison. And they said something about the death penalty. He says, well, for treason, there's a death penalty for that. And some people, he basically said that they were going to have to enforce the death penalty. So these people know what they've done. They don't know how much Trump's people know they've done, but they know what they've done. So they're scared, and they have to fight with everything they've got, because some of them are going to be not just prosecuted, but they're going to be executed for their treason.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting
protesters. I wonder how much these protesters are getting paid for these committee hearings.
Oh, I'm sure they're getting paid. Stacey Abrams, actually, she was invited by the Bilderberg Group to speak or to be at one of their meetings. So she's got backing with them, or she thinks she does. They probably drop her like a hot potato because they just use people.
Well, what do you think about President Trump going to the WEF?
Going to the what?
Was it Davos or WEF?
Oh, did he? I didn't
President
know that.
Trump is. He's supposed to be going. At least that's what they're saying. Of course, they plant these things, to get people all stirred up. Might not be true.
Well, I seems like I did hear about something like that. And what he did was he basically told him he wasn't going to be playing, and he kind of put him on notice. It was some kind of a meeting he went to. It was the globalist snot bag.
Well, and he's supposed to be coming to California too. But after the inauguration, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, interesting times. We're going to see a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready. Let's. Oh yeah, and he's getting rid of the IRS. It's the ERS. Did you see that? Mm-mm. No, I
haven't been on computer much. I've been really busy.
Yeah, he announced that it's going to be the agent. I'd like to see it, instead of being a new agency, it's renaming the IRS to the ERS, and that's the one that's going to be doing all the tariffs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we need something management system. I get that.
Yeah, so they're not. So the taxpayers are not being. We're not being individually taxed anymore, which is not part of the original Constitution. The 8th Amendment to the Constitution talks about tax on commerce, not on individual taxes.
Right.
Tell Rick Green that. Someone needs to tell Rick Green that and explain to him that.
He knows. He knows. He knows. He's just saying that because they're fighting tooth and nail to keep the IRS up because they make all that money. They shove all that money in their pockets and their gravy trains going away.
Well, Rick Green did that Patriotic Academy and is a constitutionalist.
Well, he's no better than. Yes, the Landry's. That is a troll over my shoulder. It's even behind glass. I can't believe you can see it. That's weird that you got good eyes. Yeah, it's going to be interesting the next, especially the next few months, because they're going to move they have to move really, really fast, because there's certain people they've got to remove very quickly before they have it. Oh, look at the the Asian guy that got busted with James O'Keefe with his honeypot. They fired him today.
Yeah.
He exposed him yesterday, but he said the generals were meeting to do something about Trump. That is treason. That is big time treason. And Trump knows about it because he was posting about it. So, yeah, they're going to try to do some things. So Trump's got to move quickly. I noticed when he made one of his posts, he had general and then a question mark, Milley. And I'm thinking, oh, but they're going to strip him of his rank. I'll bet you anything. He's going to do some stuff to that guy. He has it coming.
Yeah.
And McChrystal and others that are with these, like Helena Group and Bergruen and all that stuff. They need to be stripped of their rank, and they need to be disposed of. So anyway, I've got to get going. I got a fire to stoke and get some things done here. But anyway, you have a great show. Thanks for talking. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me play the rocket. That was kind of interesting to watch. Much love to everybody out there. You guys, see you Friday, God willing. And excuse me. God bless Deb. Have a great show. I'll be listening upstairs.
Okay.
See you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. God bless.
Hey, everybody. This is On a Wing of the Prayer. This is Deb65. I have a show. If this is your first time, if you're new to Patriots Soapbox, I do a show called On a Wing of Prayer Thursday mornings from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern, so adjust for your time zone, and then again Saturday evenings from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, again adjust for your time zones. And so what I do, my thing is we're going through the Bible. I started in 2021 with Genesis 1:1. The idea was to go through, and I thought I was going to get through this all in 1 year, from Genesis 1:1 all the way to Revelation 22:21, and guess what? For almost 4 years later, I haven't quite got there yet. We barely have scratched the surface. So we have done the first 5 books. I have done Job. We got Joshua and Judges, and last week we just started on Samuel. And Samuel is if you know your Bible history, Samuel is the last, not just judge, but he's also the last prophet. So last week we talked about, we went over 1 Samuel 1. In the original, when the Bible was originally translated as Samuel, or in the original text in Hebrew, Samuel was actually one book, but when they did the translation, they made it into 2 books. So we talked about the Elkanah and his wife Hannah and Peninnah, and we talked about Samuel's family and Hannah being so grieved because she didn't, even though Elkanah loved her, she really wanted to, she wanted a child, and she basically, she said, she went to the Lord and said she petitioned, and she told the Lord basically if she could have a child that she would dedicate Samuel back. So Eli the priest was in the temple at the time, and she was so grieved that he thought she was drunk, and so he told Hannah, God will honor your prayers. And so Hannah was blessed with Samuel, and she weaned Samuel, and now she's dedicated Samuel back to God. So she's given him back to the I'm getting ready to the tabernacle, where the with the high priest and everything. So that kind of brings us up. Anyway, so I apologize for not recognizing everybody, but because Chris and I had such a long conversation, I've got to get to it because this is pretty long. 1 Samuel 2, and I want to get to 2 and 3 because they kind of go together, and so I'm gonna have to kind of speed it up. So 1 Samuel 2, verse 1, and Hannah's prayer. And Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoices in Jehovah, my horn is exalted in Jehovah. I smile at my enemies because I rejoice in your salvation. No one is holy like Jehovah, for there is none beside you, nor is there any rock like our God or Elohim or Adonai. Talk no more so very proudly. Let no arrogance come from your mouth. For Jehovah is Elohim of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and those who stumbled are girded with strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased to hunger. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children has become feeble. Jehovah kills and makes alive. He brings down up to the grave and brings up. Jehovah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the beggar from the ash heap, to set them among princes and make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are Jehovah's, and he has set the world upon them. He will guard the feet of his saints, but the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength no man shall prevail. The adversaries of Jehovah shall be broken in pieces. From heaven he will thunder against them, and Jehovah will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Then Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the child ministered to Jehovah before Eli the priest. And just for those, if this is your first time and I use the New King James Version. I know there's controversy about whether or not King James is the actual translation. I mean, I got someone in Gab sitting there, and it's like, you know what? The way I feel about it, if God didn't like the King James Version of the Bible, he would have somehow did away with the King James Version of the Bible. It would have been totally, basically, it would not be used anymore at all. I like the New King James because it kind of changes, it makes the these and thuses, kind of modernizes the language, but keeps the basically the original translation of it keeps the kind of the integrity of the King James Version. I use the during word commentary. Pastor David Guzak, has worked really hard. He uses commentators from the 15th, 16th, I guess from the Great Awakenings of the past, like Charles Spurgeon, Timothy Poole, Adam Clark, if you want to know who they are. And so if you want to go read along with them, I don't always agree what they say, but I think it's a good kind of a good beginning to find out. just kind of a good starting place, because these were Renaissance. I guess in a way you could call them Renaissance men. They were preachers, and they used the society, their modern society, contemporary society, to explain certain passages. And I also put, a lot of things I come up with is from different Bible studies, different preachers, and even my own experiences. So some of my commentaries are from that. So Hannah prayed and said, so 1 Samuel 1, chapter 1, verse 28 ended, that said, so they worshiped Jehovah there, and talking about the tabernacle. This song records the worship Hannah offered on the very day she left her little boy, her only child, at the tabernacle, never for him to live in her home again. It kind of makes me wonder if he ever got to visit her again. Hannah showed a depth of commitment and love for God that may humble us. On the day she made the biggest sacrifice of her life, she rejoices in the Lord. Can you imagine? You're waiting for so long for a child, and then you give your child up to be dedicated to God for the rest of their lives. And you're probably the only time she ever got to see him is when every year when they did the atonement. Notice, though, that she rejoices in the Lord. She could not rejoice in leaving her son, but she could rejoice in the Lord. In the most desperate situations, when we have nothing else to rejoice in, we can rejoice in the Lord. So the horn, the word the horn, is used often as a picture of strength in the Bible. And we have that out of Psalm 75, verses 4 through 5, which says, I said to the boastful, do not deal boastfully, and to the wicked, do not lift up the horn. Do not lift up your horn on high. Do not speak with a stiff neck. And then in Psalm 92:10, but my horn you have exalted like a wild ox. I have been anointed with fresh oil. So this is because the strength of an ox. Oh, I don't like it when it doesn't highlight like I want it to. There we go. This is because the strength of an ox or steer could be expressed in its horn. Hannah spoke of strength and power being exalted in the Lord. Adam Clark says, we have often seen that horn signifies power, might, and dominion. It is thus constantly used in the Bible and was so used among the heathens. So Hannah had a strong sense of vindication over her rival. Remember, Phinehas had it was a thing, especially with women. If you were barren, you were considered, really not much of a woman. That's how people look, because God says, "Be fruitful and multiply." So Hannah had a strong sense of vindication over her rival, Elkanah's other wife, named Peninnah. Peninnah cruelly brought Hannah low in 1 Samuel 1, verses 6 through 7, which says, and her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable, because Jehovah had closed her womb. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of Jehovah that she provoked her, therefore she wept and did not eat, and referring to Hannah. But now Hannah rejoiced because Jehovah lifted her up. This shows a classic form of Jewish or Hebrew poetry, repetitive parallelism. To say Jehovah is holy is to say he is completely set apart, that he is unique and not like any other. When she continued in the same verse and said, "For there is none besides you," and she said the same thing in "No one is holy like Jehovah," only saying it in different words. When she said, "Nor is there any rock like our God," she again says the same thing in different words. In this, Hebrew poetry does not rhyme words, but sound as much as by sound. Okay. Sorry, but it's early in the morning by my time. In this, Hebrew poetry does not rhyme words by sound as much as it rhymes ideas. The ideas in the 3 lines of 1 Samuel 2, which is this, all rhyme together, having different words, yet sounding the same. So Hannah certainly had her rival in mind, but she also saw Peninnah as a representative of all the proud and arrogant people in the world. Hannah wisely told the proud to talk no more and let no arrogance come from your mouth. Pride can be expressed in many ways, but it usually is expressed by our words. It would be better if proud people just did not talk so much. Yeah, I guess, yeah. What's that? It's best to, what's that saying? It's best to let people think you're full than to open your mouth and have it verified, or whatever it is. Yeah, well, it's 12 my time, so 4 a.m. So there's 4-hour difference. 4 o'clock sometimes. 4 o'clock is when a lot of people get up. To get ready for work. I know my sister, living in Central Time Zone, she would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. This, of course, is the best reason to forsake our pride. Next to God, we know nothing. He knows us, and by him, actions are weighed. So we should be humble before God because he knows how to humble the strong. I mean, I've said it many times, if you're God has a way of getting your attention. If anything is out of sync, or if anything that takes your attention away from him, he has a way of removing it, even our pride. What can be, there are consequences to all of our, what we do. There are actions, and if we are acting out of pride, sometimes those consequences can humble us and bring us to our knees. And it's up to us to, make wise choices after that. So those who were full are now begging, and she, who has many children, has become feeble. So if we are strong or exalted now, we should keep humble, because Jehovah can change our place quickly. Exactly. God, God lifts up, but he can also tear down. Let's see. Okay. Hold on. Sometimes this thing is not always in. So we should be humble before God because he knows how to exalt the weak. If we are weak or in a low place now, we should wait humbly before God and let him lift us up, as mentioned in Luke 14, verses 7 through 11. So he told a parable to those who were invited. When he noted how they chose the best places, saying to them, when you are invited by anyone to a wedding feast, do not sit down in the best place, lest one more honorable than you be invited by him, and he who invited you and him come and say to you, give place to this man, and then you begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down in the lowest place, so that when he who invited you comes to you and say to you, friend, go up higher, then you will have glory in the presence of those who sat at the table with you. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. It's kind of like, it reminds me of, if somebody's treating you to, for maybe a lunch, or maybe to celebrate your birthday. You don't always pick the best thing off the menu. You want to be something within reason, right? It's the polite thing to do, right? Let's see. Where is it? Oh, here it goes. So Hannah knew she was barren because Jehovah had closed her womb. And of course, we already read that in 1 Samuel 1, chapter 1, verse 6. She knew God first set her low, then brought her high. She could see the hand of Jehovah in it all. Hannah was confident in God's ability to humble the strong and exalt the weak because God is in control. If God were not in control, then perhaps the strong could do what they wanted and God couldn't stop them. Hannah knew that the foundation of the earth itself, which is the pillars of the earth, belonged to Jehovah. So God uses his power to set things right. It isn't enough for us to believe God has this power. We must know that he will use it for his glory and righteousness. That's like with the election of the 2024 election, or if you can go back to the 2016 election of President Trump. God is, I really believe God is using President Trump to expose the corruption, expose the evil that we have been living under that we did not know. A lot of us, we thought we were living good. Thought we were living under the blessings of God, and we are. If we're still alive and we can pay our bills and do things, we are. But what he is doing, what is happening now is to show God's glory, because for a lot of us who believe, we're seeing God's power. Some of the stuff can only be happening because of him. So at this time, Israel did not have a king and didn't seem to want one. So when Hannah spoke of his king, she looked ahead to the Messiah, who will finally set all wrong things right. He is anointed. He is God's anointed. So this is the first place in the Bible where Jesus is referred to as the Messiah. She first applied to him, She first applied to him the remarkable epithet Messiah in Hebrew, Christ in Greek, and anointed in English, which was adopted by David, Nathan, Ethan, Isaiah, Daniel, and the succeeding prophets of the Old Testament, and by the apostles and inspired of the New Testament. And that is commentator Hales quoting Adam Clark. Zacharias, the father of John the Baptist, quoted Hannah in Luke chapter 1, verse 69, when he says, "And has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David." So when he prophetically called Jesus a horn of salvation, he was quoting from 1 Samuel 10. Mary, the mother of Jesus, quoted Hannah's song often, and she did that in Luke, first chapter of Luke 46 through 55. And I'm not going to read all of that just for time constraints, and because it is 9 verses long. So if you want to read that, that is Luke 1, verses 46 through 55. So they did it. It was hard to do, to leave this little son behind, but they did it because they promised God they would do it. Young as he was, Samuel had a ministry to Jehovah. Our young people can praise and please God, and it is often a breakthrough in their walk with Jehovah when they experience God in worship. The Living Bible translated well. A child became the Lord's helper. There are ways that even children can serve God and minister to him. Verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were corrupted. They did not know Jehovah. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was boiling. Then he would thrust it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot, and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. So they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the men who sacrificed, "Give meat for roasting to the priest, for he will not take boiled meat from you, but raw." Don't forget, and if you can go to Leviticus, that sets up the sacrifice Leviticus, that sets up all the sacrificing, the sacrificial, what sacrifices could be eaten, what sacrifices couldn't be eaten. So. Verse 16, and if the man said to him, "You should really burn the fat first, then you may take as much as your heart desires," he would then answer him, "No, but you must give it now, and if not, I will take it by force." Therefore the sin of the young men was very great before Jehovah, for men abhorred the offering of Jehovah. So, I mean, they were basically taking advantage of these people who were coming to sacrifice, and they were taking more than they were supposed to. And so it became a burden for people to sacrifice. Literally, the ancient Hebrew calls the sons of Belial. Belial was a pagan god, and the phrase sons of Belial refers to worthless and wicked men. This was a significant problem because the sons of Eli, we're seeing that now. These are supposed to be the highest servants of God, and yet they were so corrupt. I mean, we have this happening today with our spiritual leaders. So this was a significant problem because the sons of Eli were in line to succeed him as high priest, and they already functioned in the priesthood. And what an embarrassment to Eli. Even though their father Eli knew Jehovah, that knowledge was not passed on genetically to the sons. They had to personally know Jehovah for themselves. It's like I heard one pastor say one time, each generation has to find God on their own. So we can't save our kids. We can't do it for them. They have to find God on their own. And I know it's sad. It's hard when you, my grandson right now is upset with me. He says, you told me I'm going to hell. That's not what I said. I never said he's going to hell. I mean, he's only 9 years old. Or he's getting ready to turn 9 years old. And I never said that, but something I said, that's what he took as. And that's not what I said. So I had to explain to him, people who don't not know who Jesus and have that relationship, they are. So with many of the sacrifices brought to the tabernacle, a portion was given to God. A portion was given to the priest, and a portion was kept by the one who brought the offering. So according to other passages in the Old Testament, the priest received a portion of the breast and the shoulder, but now some 400 years later, or after the law of Moses came, the priestly custom changed. They did not take the prescribed portion of the breast and shoulder, but took whatever the fork or the flesh hook brought up out of the pot. So God's portion was always given first, so it was wrong to take the priest's portion before they burned the fat. So the fat was thought to be the most luxurious, best part of the animal, so they gave it to God. I mean, how many people, we like those juicy burgers because of the fat, and yet we're told that the fat is bad for you, so we got to have that lean meat. Of course, I like lean meat, but still, I mean, I don't really like really greasy burgers, but still. So the idea was that God should always get the best, and God should get his portion first. But in their pride, the sons of Eli took their portion before they burned the fat. Why did the sons of Eli want raw meat? Perhaps it was so they could prepare it in any way they pleased, or more likely it was because raw meat was easier to sell and they sold the meat and pocketed the money. The greed of Eli's sons was so bad they did not hesitate to use violence and the threat of violence to get what they wanted. So the greatness of the sins of Eli, the sin of Eli's sons was clear because through their greed, violence, and intimidation, they made others not want to come and bring offerings to Jehovah. It was bad enough that what they themselves did, but the greater sin of Eli's sons was in how they hurt other people. Not only that, it's a stumbling block. Apostle Paul talks about it in Romans, not being a stumbling block to the Lord. That's like if he, a good one is alcohol. Some people who don't see a problem with alcohol, and they'll try to shame someone. If someone doesn't want to drink, oh, come on. But maybe that person has a problem with alcohol. Of course, he needs to let people know, but that could be a stumbling block. It can be a stumbling block. Anything that interferes with your relationship with the Lord, that can become that can be a stumbling block. And we shouldn't, intentionally or not, we shouldn't, we should, or even fasting. I heard a pastor say one time, he was at a men's retreat and they were eating lunch or something. They were having a meal, and he saw one of the other pastors and he wasn't eating, and he's like, "Hey dude, come on." And the other pastor's like, "No, I'm fasting." And so he said, I could have been a stumbling block. Verse 18, but Samuel ministered before Jehovah even as a child, wearing a linen ephod, and moreover his mother used to make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. Can you imagine? My grandson I think he shot up in the last year, 6 months even, and it's just like, he's almost as tall as I am. Verse 20, and Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, Jehovah give you descendants from this woman for the loan that was given to Jehovah. Then they would go to their own home. And Jehovah visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the child Samuel grew before Jehovah. So as bad as Eli's sons were, Samuel was different. We can say this is why God raised up Samuel, because of the corruption of Eli's sons. God knew how bad Eli's sons were, so he guided the whole series of events that resulted in Samuel's service at the tabernacle. If Eli's sons were not worthy successors, then God would raise up someone else. Ultimately, corrupt ministers do not stop or even hinder the work of God. It may look like it, but every time there are men like Eli's sons, God raises up someone like Samuel. God's work does not stop when God's ministers become corrupt. That's like right now, President Trump. People want to sit there, and I do. President Trump should not be worshipped, but he should be looked up as a messenger from God, in my opinion. I think he has shown that, look what they throw at him. And yet all they keep doing is making him a martyr. They're we're told, these people are stupid. If they would just stop trying to make him a martyr, then who knows what would have happened. But every time you attack him, it either has people questioning, or people just look at it and it's like, yeah, there's something wrong here. And so, if President Trump ends up not being, or, that's just the reason why we need to pray that the right people are surrounding President Trump. That's like Pam Bondi had, Paula White putting her hands on her and praying over her. It's like people have doubts about Paula White, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just like, Paula White? That may not be a good thing. Oops, I lost my place. Uh-oh. Oops, okay. So even as a child, Samuel distinguished himself in his service to Jehovah. His service was exceptional enough that he received a linen ephod, which was a priestly garment as described in Exodus 39, verses 27 through 29. So they made tunics artistically woven of fine linen for Aaron and his sons, a turban of fine linen, exquisite hats of fine linen, short trousers of fine woolen linen, and a sash of fine woolen linen with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, made by a weaver as Jehovah had commanded Moses. So what did Samuel do? Commentator Trapp says he did small charges as setting up lights, laying up vestments, and learning music or the like. So though a child, Samuel served Jehovah better in a greater way than the sons of Eli did. What man looks at in the service of God is not often what Jehovah looks at. Only someone who was really there would describe such a small detail. Though Hannah gave her little boy to Jehovah, she never stopped loving him. He certainly did. 3 more sons. Okay, so Jehovah visited Hannah. 3 more sons and 2 daughters. God will never be a debtor to anyone. Hannah could never say to Jehovah, I gave you a son, but what did you give me? Because God gave her much more in return. Let's see, verse 22. Now Eli was very old, and he heard everything his sons did to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle at meeting. And that's something that the priests, we all know that, you're not supposed to do that unless you're married. So he said to them, why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not good. It is not a good report that I hear. You make Jehovah's people transgress. If one man sins against another, Elohim or Adonai will judge him. But if a man sins against Jehovah, who will intercede for him? Nevertheless, they did not heed the voice of their father, because Jehovah desired to kill them. And the child Samuel grew in stature and in favor with both Lord or Jehovah and men. It is an understandable question, but a needless one. It doesn't matter why, because there could be no good reason. They can't excuse their sin. They had to be responsible for it instead. Eli did about the worst thing a parent can do in trying to correct their children. He just talked. All he did was whine about what they did wrong, but he never took the necessary actions to correct the problem. Parents would be better off to yell less, lecture less, to take sensible action more often, letting the children see the consequences of their disobedience. Yeah, I know. Oh man, I have that problem. I end up yelling even after I say I'm not going to, or I lecture, and I was like, how do you do this, How do you tell your grandson is like, please just get dressed so we can go to school. I can take you to school. Just do what I say, or if you get dressed now, you can lay, you can lay down, you can rest, just get everything on, and then you don't have to worry about it. And all we have to do is when the time comes, we can leave. When they get stubborn and they just don't, it gets very, this thing about, okay, you don't, this idea of hands off. So, writing from the 17th century, John Trapp advises Eli on what he should have said. Draw near. Okay, so this is in that English, that old 17th century English. So this might be a little bit hard to understand. I know I do. So, draw near hither, or draw near, ye sons of the sorceress, the seed of the adulterer and the whore, you degenerate brood and sons of Belial, and not of Eli, ye brats of fathomless perdition. It is stark stinking naught that I hear, and woe is me that I yet live to hear it. In other words, what I'm hearing stinks, and and woe to me that I have to hear it. Or whatever. He's basically saying it's better I'm not here to hear it. It had been better that I had died long since, or that you had been buried alive, than thus to live and stink above the ground. Those are some pretty harsh words. Again, this was the great sin of Eli's sons. It was bad enough that they stole and indulged their own lusts, but they also, by their corrupt behavior, made people hate worshiping God with their offerings at the tabernacle, and they led women worshipers into sexual immorality. So fortunately, 1 John chapter 2 verse 1 answers Eli's question, which says, my little children, these things I write to you so that you may not sin. If anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. We thank God that there is someone to intercede for us when we sin against the Lord. Oh, come on. No. All right, there we go. Or against Jehovah. So this striking statement may seem unfair to some. They picture Eli's sons wanting to repent and listen to their father, but God prevented them. This is not the case at all. God judged Eli's sons this way. He gave them exactly what they wanted. They did not want to repent, and God did not work repentance in their hearts. Remember, you have to, you have a choice. God is a that saying, God is a gentleman. He's not going to force his will upon you. But there are consequences to our actions. Why do people keep blaming God on the bad things that happened when we, and corporately as a nation, we basically told God we don't want him in our government, we don't want him in our homes, we don't want him. We have let people who do not believe tell us that we shouldn't allow God to be anywhere. And we have gone along with that lie to try to keep peace. Jesus said he's not keeping peace. He is a double-edged sword. And if they hated him, you really think, it kind of boggles my mind how it's okay. Why are people so afraid? Why are people so afraid to believe in Jehovah, in the God of the Bible? Why? There's plenty of you can believe in someone like Buddha or Muhammad, but you can't believe in the Jehovah and a righteous God. Those other gods, they're so flawed. What's wrong with the 10 Commandments? Do not kill, do not murder, which is different than do not kill. Do not lie, do not covet. Do not bear false witness, do not honor your mother and father. Do not steal. But when it comes to the first 3, do not take the Lord's name in vain, do not have idolatry, and it's like that demonic spirit just that's attached to them just kind of raises its head. God saw that they were corrupt men and wanted to judge them when when Jehovah desired to kill him, it simply meant that God desired that Eli's sons be brought to justice. So what a contrast to the wickedness of Eli's sons. This shows that although Eli was far from a perfect father, he was not a chronically bad father, because he essentially fathered Samuel, and he grew up to be a godly man. Okay, verse 27. Then a man of Elohim, or Elyon came to Eli and said to him, "Thus says Jehovah, did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when you were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? Did I not choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon my altar, to burn incense, and to wear an ephod before me? And did I not give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Israel made by fire? Why do you kick at my sacrifice and my offering, which I have commanded in my dwelling, and honor your sons more than me, to make yourselves fat with the best of all the offerings of Israel, my people? Therefore, Jehovah Elohim of Israel says, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father will walk before me forever. But now Jehovah says, far be it from me. For those who honor me, I will honor. For those who despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days are coming that I will cut off your arm and the armor of your father's house, so that there will not be an old man in your house. And you will see an enemy in my dwelling place, despite all the good which Adonai or Elyon does for Israel. There shall not be an old man in your house forever, but any of your men whom I do not cut off, my altar shall consume your eyes and grieve your heart, and all the descendants of your house shall die in the flower of their age. Now this shall be a sign to you that will come upon your 2 sons, on Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they shall die, both of them. Then I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who shall do according to what is in my heart and in my mind, and I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever. And it shall come to pass that everyone who is left in your house will come and bow down to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and say, please put me in one of the priestly positions, that I may eat a piece of bread. So these are consequences. Basically he's telling Eli his family, his descendants are going to be no more. We don't know who this was. This man of God is one of the wonderful anonymous characters of the Bible. But it doesn't matter who he was. He was a man of God, and God raised him up to speak to Eli and Eli's whole family at this important time. So the father referred to this as Aaron, who is the first high priest. Since the high priesthood was a hereditary office, Eli was a descendant of Aaron, whom God revealed himself to. So that means, basically the priesthood, the high priest, is slowly going to be faded away. So this is a wonderful summary of some of the duties of the priesthood in Israel. Let's see, to be my priest. Hold on, I'll be right back. I thought I muted my mic. So first and foremost, the job of the high priest was to minister to Jehovah. Before he served the people, he was a servant of God. He was not first the people's priest, he was first the priest of God. So the priest brought sacrifices for atonement and worship. Burning incense was a picture of prayer, because the smoke and the scent of the incense ascends up to the heavens. The priest was to lead the nation in prayer and to pray for the nation. Oops, I have to highlight these. The priest was clothed in specific garments for glory and for beauty. So Exodus 28:2 says, and you shall make holy garments for Aaron and your brother, or for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. And that's God talking to Moses. He was to represent the majesty, dignity, glory, and beauty of God to the people. So the priest was also charged with the responsibility to receive the offerings of God's people and to make good use of them. It would have been easy for Eli to say, I'm not doing it, my sons are. But Eli had a double accountability for his sons, both as a father, though this was diminished because his sons were adults, and the high priest. His sons worked for him as priests, and Eli was a bad boss. Since Eli did not correct his sons the way he should, he essentially preferred them to Jehovah. If Eli were more afraid of offending God and less afraid of offending his sons, he would have corrected him as he should have. Eric Liddell was one of Britain's great athletes. Oh, I remember that. You know, he was an Olympic runner. You know, Chariots of Fire was based on his based on his story. He wouldn't run. He wouldn't run. He was supposed to run on a Sunday, and he said he couldn't do it because it went against his beliefs. So Eric Liddell was one of the, and it's L-I-D as in dog, D as in dog, E-L-L, was one of Britain's great athletes, and later he gave his life for Jesus on the mission field. 1924, he was to run for Britain in the Olympics when it was discovered that the preliminary heats of his best event, the 100 meters, would be run on a Sunday. Quietly but firmly, Liddell refused to run. The day of the 400 meters race came, and as Liddell went to the starting blocks, an unknown man slipped a piece of paper in his hand with a quotation from 2 Samuel, 1 Samuel, chapter 2, verse 30, which says, let's see, those that honor me, I will honor. That day, Eric Liddell set a world's record in the 400 meters. So he ran more than what he was known to run, right? So he went beyond just 100 meters. He went 400 meters and set a record. Not literally, but in the sense, the arm was a picture of strength and might in Hebrew thinking. And we get that in Psalms 10:15, which says, break the arm of the wicked and the evil man, seek out his wickedness until you find none. 77:15 says, you have with you your arm redeemed your people, the sons of Jacob and Joseph. And in Psalm 89:10, you have broken Rahab in pieces as one who's slain. You have scattered your enemies with your mighty arm. This said the house of Eli would be left powerless and without strength. Let's see. Let's see. So God promised that the priestly line would not stay with Eli and his descendants, but would pass to another line of descendants from Aaron. This was fulfilled many later in Solomon's day. Abiathar from Eli's family was deposed as high priest and replaced with Zadok, who was from another family. 1 Kings 2, verse 27 reads, so Solomon removed Abiathar from being the priest to Jehovah, that he might fulfill the word of Jehovah, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli at Shiloh. This was a promise to Aaron in passages like Exodus 29:9, which says, and you shall guard them with sashes, and Aaron and his sons, and put the hats on them. The priesthood shall be theirs for perpetual statute, so you shall consecrate Aaron and his sons. God did not remove the priesthood from the line of Aaron, but he did remove it from the line of Eli. Wait a minute. So this idea is repeated twice in these few verses. God wanted to emphasize that he would not bless the descendants of Eli with a long life. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Oh, here we go. So the descendants of Eli would live a little longer, would not live blessed lives. Their end would be painful to see, and we will be coming up on that pretty shortly. Who was the faithful priest predicted here? He was a great priest because he did according to what was in God's heart and in his mind. He was a blessed priest because God said to him, I will build him, or he will walk for my anointed forever. So this promise was partially fulfilled in Samuel because he functioned as a godly priest, effectively replacing the ungodly sons of Eli. The promise was partially filled in Zadok in the days of Solomon because he replaced Eli's family line in the priesthood. The promise was ultimately fulfilled in Jesus Christ because he is a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. And we see that in Hebrews 7, verses 12 through 17, which says, For the priesthood being changed of necessity, there is also a change of the law. For he of whom these things are spoken belongs to another tribe, from which no man has officiated at the altar. For it is evident that our Lord arose from Judah, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood. And it is yet far more evident if in the likeness of Melchizedek there arises another priest who has come not according to the law of a fleshly commandment, but according to the power of an endless life. For he testifies, you are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. So this is a fitting judgment, since much of the sin of Eli's sons was greed and stealing from God's people. Instead of receiving the priestly portions that were rightfully theirs, Eli's family would one day be reduced to begging. Let's see, I want to oh yeah, this is pretty short, so we can finish this up. So let me reset this, because we still have 45 minutes. Let me reset. Sorry. That's my mouse, in case you're wondering, what's that scratchy sound? That's my mouse. Get it away from the mic. A little bit difficult for me to do that. Okay. Alright. So we come to 1 Samuel 3. So 1 Samuel 3. Let's see. First Samuel 3. Now the boy Samuel ministered to Jehovah before Eli, and the word of Jehovah was rare in those days. There was no widespread revelation. So in other words, Moses, actually saw God face to face. Abraham had conversations, and, there was a time when God just really talked, it's like you having conversation. And even Joshua had those moments. But, that was like, by this time, that's been a couple of 100 years later, and that wasn't happening as much. Yeah, that's a bald mouse. So verse 4, and it came to pass at that time, while Eli was lying down in his place, and when his eyes had begun to grow dim, that he could not see, and before the lamp of Elyon went out in the tabernacle of Jehovah, where the ark of Elyon was, and while Samuel was laying down, and Jehovah called Samuel, and he answered, "Here I am." So he ran to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. And he said, I did not call, lie down again. And he went and lay down. Then Jehovah called yet again, Samuel. So Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. He answered, I did not call you, my son, lie down again. No, Samuel did not yet know Jehovah, nor was the word of Jehovah yet revealed to him. And Jehovah called Samuel again the third time. So he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you did call me. Then Eli perceived that Jehovah had called the boy, and therefore Eli said to Samuel, Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he calls you, that you must say, Speak, Jehovah, for your servant hears. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. So for the third time, it is emphasized that Samuel ministered to Jehovah. And we saw that in the last chapter, 1 Samuel 2:11 and 2:18. Just as Aaron and his sons did at their consecration as priests in Exodus 29:1, which was, And this is what you shall do to them to hallow them for ministering to me as priests. Take one young bull and 2 rams without blemish. And just as Paul and Barnabas did before they were sent out as missionaries, and we see that in Acts 13, verses 1 through 2, which says, Now in the church that was at Antioch, there were certain prophets and teachers, Barnabas, Simeon, who was called Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen, who had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul, and they ministered to Jehovah and fasted in the Holy Spirit and said, Now separate, and the Holy Spirit said, Now separate to me Barnabas and Saul for the work which I have called them. The only word of the Lord we read in the first 2 chapters of 1 Samuel is the word of judgment brought to them by the man of God against Eli. God didn't speak often, and when he did, it was a word of judgment. So because the hardness of of heart among the people of Israel and the corruption of the priesthood. God will speak and guide when his people seek him, and when he ministers seek to serve him diligently. And I mean, there have been times when I've heard God. I mean, I remember there was one time, oh gosh, it's been 20, 30 years ago now, and I heard this voice call my name. And looking back now, I'm thinking, it was God's voice calling me. And unfortunately, I thought it, because you heard that when people think of you, that whole thing that they reach across the spans of the universe and things like that. And I thought it was something else. I thought it was someone else. So I kick myself now when I think about that. And I'm like, man, God was really trying to get my attention then, and I ignored him. Thankfully, God is very merciful. I mean, he did not give up on me. I am so thankful that the Lord did not give up on me. Let's see. I'm trying to... So this was true both spiritually and physically of Eli. His age made him an ineffective leader for Israel. So as a figure of speech, this simply means before dawn, but it is also suggestive of the dark spiritual times in Israel. It is dark and will probably get darker. Exodus 27 verse 21 refers to the responsibility of the priest to tend the lamps until sunrise or just before dawn. So again, go back to Exodus. You can always go to my Rumble channel too, and you can get the Bible readings and the teachings that I did on that. And if you are already not necessarily a subscriber, but a follower, I want to say thank you. And check. If you are and you aren't getting notifications, check, because sometimes Rumble will unfollow you. Or maybe you unfollowed by mistake or by accident and didn't realize it. But yeah, I've seen that even in Gab. If you go to my Gab. So we don't know for certain how old Samuel was. Ancient Jewish historian Josephus said Samuel was 12 years old. However old he was, God spoke to Samuel. Yeah, I mean, he could speak at any time, but, I guess it would make sense traditionally because that would be about the time that the boys would start learning, even though Samuel's been has been raised in the tabernacle. That would be the time when the boys would be learning, like, the Torah and stuff. And kind of being their apprentice. So this leads us to believe God spoke to Samuel in an audible voice instead of an inner voice, though this is not certain. But Samuel was so impressed by what he heard, he responded by saying, "Here I am." This is a beautiful way to respond to God's word. It isn't that God doesn't know where we are, but it tells God and it reminds us we are simply before him as servants, asking what he wants us to do. Samuel is among several others who also said, "Here I am," when Jehovah spoke to them. We have Abraham. We have the example of Abraham in Genesis 22:1. Now it came to pass after all these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, "Abraham," and he said, "Here I am." And that is when he's going to take Isaac to be sacrificed. And then in Jacob's time with Genesis 46:2, excuse me, then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob, and he said, here I am. Moses at the burning bush in Exodus 3, verse 4. So when Jehovah saw that he turned aside to look, God called him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses, and he said, here I am. Then we have Isaiah in 6:8. And also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send and who will go before us? Then I said, here am I, send me. And then in Ananias in Acts 9, verse 10, now there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias, and to him the Lord had said in a vision, Ananias, and he said, here I am, Lord. I mean, God can, even though people say he doesn't do it today, I'm telling you, he can speak audibly to you. He can maybe it just really, you just get this, it's almost like a word of knowledge. Just like an impression. It's like, you get this sense. I mean, I think I've shared before, when I did a comparative market analysis with a realtor one time, and she wanted me to go to this fourplex. It was it was getting ready up for auction for tax purposes, and she wanted me to go in and take pictures. Well, I got there and it's kind of locked up, and I'm looking at the structure, and in my mind I'm thinking, if I go in there, I could be trapped. And everything's locked up. And there was just something inside that just said, do not go in, do not go in. And so I didn't go in, I didn't take pictures, I took pictures of the outside. She was mad at me, but she had me call, I think it was the police or somebody, and I talked to somebody, and one of the things that they told me is, it's a good thing you did not go in, because there was a squatter there that was claiming the building as his, and apparently he was violent. So I'm telling you, I mean, it was God's way. Same place, I lost my keys. I couldn't remember where my keys were, and I'm just, I'm praying. I'm just, because I had to go out again, and I'm thinking, okay, Lord, you know where my keys are. And I had the vision. I just had this flash of a vision of where they were, and sure enough, they were there. Doesn't always happen every time like that, but when it does, it's so exciting. So if anybody sits there and says God's not real, I mean, you tell them or ask them, have you ever had those moments of clarity that you just know that you know, or show them examples, So Samuel was an obedient boy. He was wrong in thinking Eli spoke to him, but he was right in what he did. Samuel came to Eli quickly because he knew Eli was blind and might need help. Hold on. Hold on. All right, come on. There we go. So when speaking to us, God almost always confirms his word again and again. It is generally wrong to do something dramatic in response to a single inner voice from Jehovah. If God speaks, he will confirm, and often in various ways. Samuel was a godly and obedient boy serving God wonderfully. Still, he not yet given his heart to Jehovah. Even children raised in a godly home must be converted by the Spirit of God. So Eli gave Samuel wise counsel. Eli told Samuel to make himself available for God to speak. Not to be presumptuous about God speaking, and to respond to the word of God. And then humble yourself. Humble himself before God and his word. My bad. So we must hear from God. The preacher may speak, our parents may speak, our friends may speak, our teachers may speak, even those on the radio and television may speak. That is all fine, but their voices mean nothing for eternity unless God speaks through them. Now, Jehovah came, or verse 10, now Jehovah came and stood and called as at other times, Samuel, Samuel, and Samuel answered, Speak, for your servant hears. Then Jehovah said to Samuel, Behold, I will do something in Israel, at which both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knows, because his sons made themselves vile, and he did not restrain them. And therefore I have sworn to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever. So it seems to have been audible, and because it says the Jehovah stood, it may be that this was a unique appearing of Jehovah, perhaps in the person of Jesus before Bethlehem. This was not a dream or a state of altered consciousness. God will give young Samuel spectacular news. In other places in the Old Testament, tingling ears were signs of especially severe judgment. So we see that in 2 Kings 20, verse 21, verse 12. Sorry, I have to reset again. Okay. Let's see. So for 2 Kings 21 verse 12 says, Therefore thus says Jehovah Elohim of Israel, Behold, I am bringing such calamity upon Jerusalem and Judah that whoever hears of it, both his ears will tingle. And then in Jeremiah 19 verse 3 says, And say, Hear the word of Jehovah, O kings of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus says Jehovah Sabaoth, or Jehovah, Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will bring such catastrophe on this place that whoever hears of it, his ears will tingle. So through the word of the man of God in 1 Samuel 2, 27 through 36, which was the last chapter, Eli already heard of the judgment to come. This word to young Samuel was a word to confirm the previous message from God. Charles Spurgeon says, "The Lord sends him a word of threatening by a child, for God has many messengers." Eli knew of this iniquity from his own observation and from the reports of the people, but especially because God made it known by the messenger of the man of God. Eli's responsibility to restrain his sons was not only or even mainly because he was their father. These were adult sons, no longer under Eli's authority as they were when they were younger. Eli's main responsibility was to restrain his sons as their boss, quote, because he was the high priest and his sons were priests under his supervision. However, Eli's indulgence towards his sons as a boss was no doubt connected to his prior indulgence of them as a parent. So what a terrible judgment. This means it's too late. Now the opportunity of repentance is past. The judgment is sealed. So that just goes to show that God does have a breaking point. Eventually there's going to come a time that even though he is compassionate, he's so compassionate, he gave us Jesus Christ to die on the cross to atone for the sins of all eternity. All you have to do is accept it and follow him and try to live righteously in what he considers righteous. With compassion and but we're to be compassionate, but we also are to, call out when someone's making an error. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, eventually, because when Jesus returns, there's going to come a time. When you're on your deathbed, once you breathe that last breath, it's too late. Let's see. So probably the judgment declared by the man of God in 1 Samuel 2:27 through 36 was a warning, inviting repentance. Because there was no repentance, God confirmed the word of judgment through Samuel. Or perhaps Eli pleaded that God might withhold his judgment, and this was God's answer for that pleading. Do we ever come to a place where sin cannot be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever? If we reject the sacrifice of Jesus for our sins, as Hebrews 10:26 says, if we reject the word of the work of Jesus for us, there's no longer remains a sacrifice for sins. So Hebrews 10:26 says, "For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins." Verse 15. So Samuel lay down until morning and opened the doors of the house of Jehovah, and Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the vision. Then Eli called Samuel and said, "Samuel, my son." He said, "Here I am." And he said, "What is the word that Jehovah spoke to you? Please do not hide it from me. God do so to you, and more also, if you hide anything from me of all the things that he said to you." Then Samuel told him everything and hid nothing from him, and he said, "It is Jehovah, let him do what seems good to him." And verse 19, so Samuel grew, and Jehovah was with him, and let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba knew that Samuel had been established as a prophet of Jehovah. Then Jehovah appeared again in Shiloh, for Jehovah revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of Jehovah. So, of course, he didn't sleep at all. We see young Samuel lying on his bed, ears tingling at the message from God, wondering how he could ever tell Eli such a powerful word of judgment. Presumably, this was one of Samuel's duties as a servant at the tabernacle. Eli was not a good boss or a good parent to Hophni and Phinehas, but Samuel came to him as a second chance. And Eli did a better job of raising Samuel than he did with his sons by birth. Eli had an idea of what the message of God to Samuel was. Kindly, he took the initiative and asked Samuel, knowing it was difficult for the young man to tell him. Eli made it clear to Samuel he had the responsibility to bring the message, even if it was bad news. With a threat like, God do to you, or more so, Samuel was suitably motivated to tell Eli everything. Eli was admirable because he was willing to be taught from an unexpected source. He wanted to hear the bad news of his condition, and he wanted to hear all God's message. How hard it is to bring a message of judgment. There may be a few with hard hearts like Jonah who are happy to announce God's judgment, but most people find it difficult. Yet it is always the responsibility of God's messenger to bring everything God says, not just the easy words. It is hard to know if Eli's response was godly or fatalistic. We should always submit to God's rod of correction, yet this submission is not totally passive. It is also active in repentance and doing what one can to cultivate a godly sorrow. Nothing compares to this, to have and to know you have the Jehovah with you. The Christian can know God is with him, as Romans 8:31 says, what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? It's kind of like Isaiah 54:17, where it says, no weapon formed against you will prosper. If God's for you, who can be against you? This means all of Samuel's prophecies came to pass and were known to be true words from God. Therefore, therefore all Israel since the days of Moses, 400 years before the time of Samuel, there were not many prophets in Israel, and certainly no great prophets. At this important time in Israel's history, God raised up Samuel as a prophet. Coming to this place in Israel's history, Samuel is rightly seen as Israel's last judgment and first prophet. Samuel bridges the gap between the time of judges and the time of the monarchy when prophets such as Nathan, Elijah, and Isaiah influenced the nation. Let's see. So this is a way of saying from the northernmost Israel to southernmost Israel. It is a similar idea as saying in the United States from New York to California. When did Jehovah first appear in Shiloh? We know he appeared in 1 Samuel, or to Samuel in 1 Samuel 3:10. Now, in some undescribed ways, Jehovah appeared again. And to finish it up, so God reveals himself by his word. Whenever God is moving, he will reveal himself by his word. Okay, and that takes us. Next time, either Saturday or next week, we'll do verse 4 or chapter 4. So, I always like to say I hope this was a blessing to you. I hope you got, and I just really hope that this helps understand God more. Helps just help in your walk. And if you don't know Jesus, I hope that you can see. I know there are people that have questions, and I never really felt like a need to go and look at other different versions of the Bible, or I just never ever felt like that was a necessity. And I know some people see it, but I just never have. And maybe that's foolishness on my part, I don't know. But I just always had this simplistic, or I guess you could call it simplistic. I just always had this simplistic belief, even as a child. So, and I know a lot of people are asking, and if you can, and I want to thank those who have helped me. If it wasn't for, if it wasn't for, for you, I would not have been able to go to my brother-in-law's memorial. I would not have been able to find out. I probably would have found out eventually, but I would not have known that he was he was actually the lead investigator into election integrity for the 2016, 2020, and 2024, right before he passed away. He was investigating all that, and I hope that if President Trump is out there come on. Okay. I hope that if President Trump is out there, or anybody that his name has come across President Trump's desk, and if he so deems that my brother-in-law should get a posthumous Medal of the Medal of Freedom. So that's my desire. So anyway, so I hope, I'm going to try, let's see, I'm going to try, we got a few minutes, hopefully there'll be somebody to relieve me. I'm going to try to see if my audio is working, since it seemed to be working, everybody said it was working okay. Oops, I didn't want to do that. So we're going to try it. And while I'm waiting for that to happen, hopefully I better not do it. Okay, until I'm sure it's not going to pop up on me. There it comes. Okay, let me close out that. All right, let's try this. Maybe. Okay. All right.
Country's bigger, better, better. I ain't afraid to say there ain't no need to whisper. That's why we shout it, USA. An eagle flies above the rest, braves the skies. If you don't like the way we wave our flag, think we hold it up too high. Well, that's just how an eagle flies. This land of ours ain't perfect. We don't always get along. What's right about this country is enough to fix what's wrong. An eagle flies above the rest, braves the darkest skies. Freedom bought with heroes' blood. Don't apologize. No, that's just how an eagle flies. You can speak your mind, try to tear us down. You best know we're gonna rise. Don't you know an eagle flies above the rest, braves the darkest skies. If you don't like the way we wave our flag, think we hold it up too high. Well, that's just how an eagle flies. Higher than high. Oh, yeah, that's just how an eagle flies.
Okie dokie. So, yay. So, sounds like I've got sounds like I have sounds like I got my audio fixed. And it looks like, gosh. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry to be... I've got to send a message. So all right, so I don't know. Let's see. Alrighty. Maybe someone. Let's see what. Okay, so the question is what do. Oh, I hear you. Okay, so if you were not here earlier, I guess I'll show you. Oh, let's see. I wonder, should I try and see if my show opener works now then? Because that's one of the things that's been my show. I could get other things, but my show opener wasn't working. Oops, hold on. Hold on. I love it when it starts and I'm not ready for it to start. All right, here we go.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all of the fiery darts of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all the perseverance and supplication for all the saints, and for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, and willfully so, that in it I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. Amen.
Father God, I ask now for an impartation of your Holy Spirit. May the fullness of the Spirit of Jesus rest upon President Trump, that he be anointed with wisdom and understanding, with your counsel and might, with knowledge and fear of the Lord. And accordingly, may President Trump not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears, or lean on his own understanding, but may he recognize your prompting and move according to your guidance. I ask that you give the President supernatural discernment to know who is trustworthy and who is not. Bring into the light all deception and intrigue. Expose and reverse the plans of those who would harm President Trump and this nation. In the name of Jesus, I break off all voices and influence that do not come from you, Father God. May your truth and peace surround and reign in the White House. God, you have raised up President Trump to govern at a time when there is a resurgence of oppression. Only you, Lord Jesus Christ, can anoint him to have victories over strongholds and to establish justice for the needy. Give him strength and courage to persevere in the constant battle that surrounds him and refresh him. Father God, I see that you have such a tender heart for President Trump. Draw him close to you. I ask now for an impartation of hunger for you so that he